Good afternoon. Returning to this topic on starches and the 80-10-10 diet, to answer a few questions on it. There's been, I did this video, got a bit of an interest and people replying to it, and then all of a sudden the community starts dividing down a kind of similar line that is kind of pointed out in the video, I guess. But so for a start, starches. For all the smart people out there, I'm not talking about the chemical starch which is in like plants and every fruit and whatever. We're talking about McDougall's the Dr. McDougall variation or definition of the word starch. You know, rice, grains, various types of grains, tubers, and McDougall points out, you know, human civilization has been living on that for a long time and everything. All good. What else? What else about it? It's not part of a raw diet. I don't think that's really to be questioned. It's inedible in its raw form. Nuts are edible in the raw form. Fruit's edible in its raw form. You dry fruit or you dry nuts, it's still just a dried version of a food that we can eat in nature. We wouldn't eat a lot of nuts in nature. That's pointed out in 811 book, and that's what it recommends. Not too many nuts. I've eaten bags of nuts myself before. Actually would prefer to do that than eating starches. That's my choice. Could go into that in more detail, but we'll leave it there for the moment. What else? Are they poisonous? Are they terrible for health? Everything's got a certain amount of toxin in it. You know, you breathe in air, it's probably got some pollution. My point with starches, I'm just in line with what the 80-10-10 diet book says. We shouldn't really see it as part of the human diet or the natural human diet. The way I look at diet nowadays is, I don't think a raw fruitarian or 80-10-10 diet is the healthiest. I'm not saying it's the healthiest super diet. I just think it's the correct diet. It's a phrase that Robert Lockhart uses, Dr. Lockhart. He talks about putting people on the correct diet. You know, he's not talking about like, this is a super healthy diet, you're going to change your life, you're going to become an athlete. Just the correct diet. Do you know what I mean? Let's go towards the diet that's designed for the body. So regardless of the effects of starches, you know, it's not really what we're designed to eat. I'm sure the word design brings up a lot of other arguments that people can use, but I think you understand what I'm saying. In terms of, is it part of 80-10-10? The confusion arising here is 80-10-10 is two things. It's a ratio, caloric-nutrient ratio. So the 80-10-10 ratio was not even worked out by Doug Graham. It's something that's been in science for years. It's what Pritkin used, McDougall, all these guys. They didn't label it 80-10-10. Going back, further back, sports nutritionists, and at least this is what Doug Graham says. I've not looked into the whole science of it. You can tell me if it's wrong or not. But the sports nutritionist said that if fat went above 10% in the diet, then negative health effects started to occur. So, and the transportation of oxygen started to get slowed down. I mean, that's what 80-10-10 is about. Whether it's raw or cooked, it's about the utmost, the most efficient, what's the full phrase? Transport, utilisation and assimilation of oxygen. Above 10% fat in the diet, the transport of oxygen, when you breathe into your cells, starts to slow down, starts to be inhibited slightly. So 80-10-10 ratio, 80-10-10 diet, written by Doug Graham. If you go to any of Doug Graham's events, I've never been to a Doug Graham event. I've been to festivals based on his diet, on his book, on his work. I've met him in person. I've seen how he eats, what he eats. I've not followed him around like for weeks at an end. But he does not promote starches. He does not promote cooked food. I've never heard him say recommend you to eat cooked food. There's a video that's been shared of him. This is the thing, like other raw fooders might say, yeah, I think you might need some cooked food now and then, or some people might need it, or you can add it in as a backup or whatever. I've never heard him say that. Personally, I've never heard him say, you know, if you were to go up to him and say, should I have potatoes instead of bananas, he would say, I'm not going to recommend that to you. That's your choice. I don't think he's going to recommend it. The bananas are better every time. So let's not fool around with that, and let's not fool around in the community in general with like definitions of words, definitions of guidelines. We're getting into like legal technicalities. This is the problem with setting out laws. But when you set up a law or a rule or a guideline, you've got to ask yourself not just what's the word of the law? Is the person outside the word of the law? What's the spirit of the law? What's the spirit in the context? You know. With these guidelines and things like what's the phrase raw food mean? What does raw food mean? What does I don't know, the guidelines for pioneers at Woodstock and all that? We can kind of charge everyone with, or almost everyone, or we can find a way of saying that person's not out of line. But what's the spirit and intention of what they're doing? Let's have a look at that. What else have I got to say in this? That video with Doug Graham. I mean, basically he's saying, you know, in my personal life, I'm not going around telling people they should just eat fruits and vegetables. I don't tell people what to do. I sit and eat my fruit, and that's it. If someone was to ask me, I'd maybe give an opinion, but it's not something I find productive to tell people I want to eat. I don't think most people are interested or ready. But if I eat what I eat, they might be inspired by it. That video where he's saying cooked food, you know, that kind of makes sense to me. But one thing I was speaking to my friend James about last night, he was talking about people respond to absolutes, and Doug Graham's kind of saying, well, technically you can have meat as part of the 80-10-10 ratio. Not the 80-10-10 diet refers to the raw vegan diet based on the ratio. That I think that we all know what we're talking about there. You know, there might be variations of it, but when I'm saying 80-10, I mean 811RV, that variation of it, and I think that's the one that most people are aware of. Probably 80-10-10 is going to become more wider, and you know, T. Colin Campbell spoke about it, so it might become more like cooked food and everything else. But we know what colloquially we mean by 811 or an 80-10-10er and stuff like that. I'm not sure what else. This is 8 minutes long now. I'm just trying to answer some of the funny stuff about it. Yeah, so I mean, I would, you know, I'm not going around telling people not to eat starches. I don't, in my daily life, if someone's eating potatoes, that's not the problem generally. You know, I would tell people, you know, that you've got not enough potatoes there, you should be eating more potatoes and less meat. You know, but within the raw food community, or with my kind of raw food YouTube channel or whatever, I'm not gonna tell anyone to eat starches, you know, or include it as a backup, or include it as anything when I don't need it, or I don't need to have it, or I've not had it for over a year. And I'm not saying I'm excellent or anything. I still have a lot of weird habits with food, and sometimes eating too late, eating dried food, eating nuts as well, which is now been called cooked or whatever, so it's not raw food diet. Eating various things. There's kind of different reasons why I don't, you know, nuts versus starches, cooked food, I don't know. Let's not get into that right now, but What exactly am I trying to say? Yeah, so I guess I'm saying, if you want to hear support on your choice of including starch in a raw food based diet, you can get that from other people, from other channels. You can get that from some of the biggest raw food channels. They'll give you that support. I don't want to give you that support personally, but you can do what you want. And the fact is that people that are saying, you know, they maybe feel judged or whatever, or uncomfortable, or the Woodstock Festival's elite now, or whatever. It's like 6 billion people in the world are eating starches every day. There's a small bunch of us that are saying no to that and want to eat fruit exclusively instead of the starches. I think we just want some space and we want to be able to express that and be that and live that, and not have to tell you that you should do something different from what we're doing. So yeah, you can get, if you want advice or help or stuff about eating starch, or support, you're going to find you can go and eat starch with people all over the world, every city, every country, every place. I'd like to think that we can have a few small festivals for the small amount of people who want to stay in the fruit-based diet, and the people that are interested in doing that and interested in thriving on that, and are interested in meeting the people who are involved in that, to have a place where we can go and enjoy that and celebrate that, and not feel like we have to be part of something where